Good morning, and thank you for joining our weekly webinar on Sage Construction Software. We are here every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, to talk about different tips, resources, information related to being successful with Sage 100 Contractor or Sage 300 in construction and real estate. In today's topic, we will be discussing the difference between 100 Contractor and 300 in construction and real estate, particularly for anyone evaluating the use of it, or perhaps they're using one of these systems and are considering moving away from it. So we just want to offer ourselves as a resource to get yourself thinking about its capabilities, where you could go growing within the Sage product umbrella, as well as outside with the network of third-party integrations available as well. So we'll be covering the evaluation of these systems, the implementation period, and then, of course, after you go live as well. Everyone is muted. This is also being recorded as well, and will be available afterwards. If there are questions that you'd like answered, or if you'd like me to go in a particular direction as we're talking about this topic, feel free to use the Q&A chat box to send a message to me, and I can kind of address that particular question or go in that direction if that's what you're looking for. Okay, so we have a mix of folks who have registered, but I'm kind of just going to go through an overview of mainly of the accounting, but also really important aspects of supplemental products with either with Sage or through a third party that will allow you to have full visibility among your departments within any construction company. So the estimating, project management, and ongoing oversight to how the project's doing, as well as ultimately connecting it to accounting and how that cycles back to estimating. Sage 100 Contractor and 300 Construction and Real Estate are both fully capable of handling these particular aspects within that Sage product umbrella, but also if you have other products that you're currently using, definitely can provide a way of connecting those to the Sage 100 Contractor or 300 Construction Real Estate accounting system. So we kind of help you bridge that gap, or perhaps you're looking to phase in, maybe you want to implement accounting and then phase in project management and phase in estimating so that everything ultimately is under one umbrella. We can help with that too. So again, either bridging the gap between systems or allowing you to fully implement everything under one product umbrella is what we hope to help you achieve. Okay, so next we'll kind of talk about all of the modules within the two systems. Definitely all of your accounting is completely available within both 100 Contractor and 300 Construction Real Estate. Your construction capabilities like job cost, project management, and your progress billing, time and material billing, that's all also available to varying degrees with 100 and 300. Definitely different in terms of capability and how things are handled, and so we'll dive into that a little bit deeper. And also for some of the other modules necessary for different types of industries, so maybe your HVAC or electrical contractor would be most interested in service management and inventory. Then you've got your highway, heavy highway or a demolition contractor that might be really heavily using equipment management. These are all available modules within 100 and 300. They are optional and can be added on. And there are also some third-party integrated products like DataMax for barcode scanning for inventory that does speak to 100 Contractor. And I think also 300 CRE, I have a contact there who can help us with that. But really, there is quite a bit that's available to either speak to 100 Contractor or actually within 100 Contractor and 300 Construction Real Estate as an add-on module. So I'll talk a little bit about the way that we help evaluate whether or not 100 Contractor or 300 Construction Real Estate is best suited for you. What we like to start out with is needs assessment. So we like to talk a little bit about to management and also, you know, people in the field. What are the needs that are not being met with the current system? How do we dive into what the goals are? Maybe there are things that you can't do currently and that are just sort of wish list items. We like to talk all of those things out so that we can, you know, get our wheels turning on how we can provide different options to make that happen. So whether it's within Sage or through an integrated system that speaks to Sage, we want to make you as streamlined and efficient as possible. Then our next step is to demonstrate those options to you. So maybe you have a couple of different options. We want you to take a look at all of them because it may come down to just user preference, how things look, how things flow. That user interface and what it looks like could just be a preference of the people that are using the system. And we definitely recognize how important it is to have everybody actually using the available features that you currently own. So being able to recognize what your team prefers, and then also being able to have everybody trained on how to use those. So that is also part of our development of improved processes. So our workflow design and proposing how things would work with your new system, we would help implement through training, and then also just presenting, working with your team to, obviously you know your team the best, so just making sure that you guys can take some of our suggestions, and then also we are working together to make sure that it is actually being utilized. So all this kind of happens within the few months, usually it's about 90 to 120 days before your decision is made about which software program is the best for you. So we spend a lot of time talking about one, your needs and goals, two, what it looks like to be using Sage, and then three, also the potential plan of implementing and the workflow that you would be adopting with your new system. Okay, so this is a question that I've gotten before. Is 100 Contractor and 300 CRE the same system, but just sort of like a bigger version of the other? And the answer is no. A lot of people might compare it to a vehicle or a car, you know, a sedan Cadillac versus, you know, the big dog SUV, and it is definitely not the case. Everything is completely different. The user interface is different, capabilities, terminology within the system, what they refer to is different, and we'll talk a little bit about those particulars. So this slide here, I kind of jump into what the more realistic way of considering it is. There are different makes and models. They came from different manufacturers, essentially. So 100 Contractor was previously known as Master Builder, and 300 Construction Real Estate was known as Timberline. They were both bought out by Sage around the same time, roughly, but definitely have different foundations. So terminology is different, and we'll kind of dive into some of the differences in the specifics. But a lot of the enhancements and the things that are available around the main accounting system are now the same years later. But let's talk a little bit about those specifics that are different. So within the two systems, they handle jobs differently, and that's this first kind of comparison. So jobs in 100 Contractor, when you're breaking them out into smaller jobs, maybe you have a motel with 3 different buildings. You can utilize phases within 100 Contractor to track those particular buildings or maybe floors or lots. That's the terminology within Sage that's used to report on how that particular part of that job is doing as compared to the job as a whole, or you can see how all of those phases are doing, but that's how it's broken out. Sage 100 Contractor does not have extras, and 300 CRE has that terminology. They utilize extras, so that's something that is a way to break out additional things within that particular job. When it comes to multi-entity accounting, the next point here that I'll talk about is the fact that 100 Contractor has one consolidated report. So there is consolidation that's available with 100 Contractor if you have multiple companies with separate tax IDs. Maybe you have an equipment company and then you have the actual construction company. That's something that you can have a consolidated financial statement report on, something for like your bonding or your bank. That's available, but the chart of accounts among the companies will need to match in order to have this consolidated report. So it's just one report that's available. It is available, so you can handle multi-entities with 100, but it is definitely something that is more robust in 300 CRE. So we have clients that have maybe a set of 7 different companies in the organization. You have robust consolidation, so you can maybe group 2 or 3 of those companies in one particular report and consolidation to see how those are doing as compared to the others. So it's really robust. You don't necessarily have to have the same chart of accounts among all the companies in order to have that consolidation. So it's more flexible, more robust, just like the job schema. So Sage 100 Contractor has a numeric only job number schema. However, there is a workaround that it has the capability to have a short name field, which will allow you to add in things like dashes and acronyms. Maybe you're talking about the Lake Matthews job. You can have LM be part of that job number schema, which you can search and also include on your reports as well. So that sometimes works. Whereas 300 CRE has a very flexible job number schema. You can add in dashes, the year number, and then the actual job number. That's something that you have a lot of play with. Now let's talk about the report writing capabilities within these 2 different systems. 100 Contractor utilizes a proprietary report writer, so it comes built into the 100 Contractor system. I have a little webinar if you're curious to see how difficult or easy it is. It's something that could definitely be picked up, and it's available with every license that comes with it. So it's available out of the box. That's your option for writing your reports, your change order forms, and things like that. So you can modify what comes out of the box, and there are about 1,200 different reports that are already pre-built and ready to go for you in the system. Whereas with 300 Construction Real Estate, there are a lot of users that are trained and have knowledge in Crystal reports. That is something that you can utilize. That's a tool for report writing that you can use for 300 CRE, as well as the additional proprietary report writer within 300 CRE. These are add-ons, so they don't come with any out-of-the-box license necessarily, but they can be added on depending on what you want to use to modify or write your reports from scratch. When you're talking about the available reports and inquiries that are available in 300 CRE, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of reports, so well over the 1,200 that are available in 100 Contractor. So you have quite a bit of robust reporting available in 300 CRE. Now, scheduling is an aspect of the job that sometimes is very important, or sometimes, companies or users have another way of handling scheduling. So that's just something that you'll want to think about when you're evaluating or comparing these two systems for yourself. Scheduling, having that Gantt chart available is available within 100 Contractor. It is not with 300 CRE. And that's because scheduling within 100 Contractor is just a very lightweight type of module that's available. It does speak to the estimating basic module, and then also allows you to pull from, your employees, your vendors, material suppliers, subcontractors, all of those folks that are already in your database. So there is quite a bit that's available with it, but it is a light form of, say Microsoft projects or whatnot. So if your needs are not super robust, 100 Contractor has a good scheduling system in it. 300 users are usually utilizing something outside of the accounting to handle scheduling on a more in-depth level. And the last point is, goes back to that multi-entity accounting that we were just talking about. With 100 Contractor, you have separate company databases, so everything is completely separate. So if you have an equipment company that rents to your construction company, you're going to have to log into those two companies separately in order to do those transactions. And a lot of the times that our clients don't have a high volume of that on 100, so that can be done. But 300 CRE has intercompany transactions available, so you can automatically generate those two entries with one fell swoop. So if you have a high volume of this between your companies, 300 CRE might be a better fit for you. And that's just some of the things that we help our customers, our clients navigate through as they're looking at these two systems. Okay, estimating is also a big topic when we're talking and comparing 100 to 300. So with estimating, you have some options. So Sage Estimating has its own product that has two options, Core and Core Plus. It has robust reporting. You can estimate with crews or models. So that's something that is available in Sage Estimating. Sage 100 Contractor Estimating Basic is a separate module, a little bit less advanced than Sage Estimating, but has quite a bit of functionality available with it. So Estimating Basic is tightly integrated and only available with 100 Contractor. So it has that integration with the project, with project scheduling that's only available in 100 Contractor. So if these are things that are heavily important to you, this is where I'd say you could lean a little bit more towards using 100 Contractor. Versus if you have really robust estimating needs and maybe you're handling scheduling outside of your accounting and that is already being handled in a very robust way, you may want to look at Core and Core Plus if these are the types of needs that you are more so needing. If you're using Sage Estimating, you can still utilize 100 Contractor along with it, as well as 300 CRE. Usually that is the type of customer. 300 CRE and Sage Estimating are more robust, and so they're a little bit more at the same level. Okay, so some key indicators that we use to kind of help guide us and help direct our clients one way or the other. We'll talk about, however, one caveat is that these things don't necessarily mean that one system is better than the other. You know, we have our outliers that don't fit into the typical key indicators. So your size is one of them. Small to mid-market are usually our 100 Contractor users, but of course, we have a scaffolding company that grew from 3 million to 100 million on 100 Contractor, and it still works great for them. They haven't outgrown it or wanted to change in any way. However, our more larger companies, say 50 to 100 million, are usually our users for 300 CRE. Now, again, isn't always the best indicator, because there are some other points that we'll talk about, and that complexity of what they need to manage, maybe with the job itself or reporting. That's something that I would say probably trumps the size of the company, because there could be a smaller size company that has very complex needs with their jobs. In that case, I would direct them towards 300 CRE because of the capability that it has to handle those complexities versus the actual size. But size is a good place to start. There's a lot more customization that's available in 300 CRE, whereas 100 Contractors built for a generic construction company. Doesn't matter if you're a GC or, we have some developers that are using it as well, but it's more of a simple process workflow in 100 Contractor. We talked about multi-company entities and that financial statement consolidation. It is available with both 100 Contractor and 300 Construction Real Estate, however, to varying degrees. So with the multi-company financial statement reporting, and there's only one report available. All of your chart of accounts need to match. And with 300 CRE, you have a lot of flexibility. It's very robust, so you have a lot more options. Implementation. This is a really big portion of your success with either system that you choose to implement. And it's something that sometimes is kind of forgotten with our clients, but it's very important. So the training and the users being able to absorb that training, them having the experience. So maybe your team has never dealt in a construction specific system and they've only got experience with QuickBooks or something like Peachtree, or, there are a lot out there. If they've never dealt with the complexities of a robust construction accounting system, even if you give them all the training, they still may have a really difficult time implementing. And of course, their use of the system on the ground is what's going to be driving you getting full visibility and really accurate reporting. So that's something that you should consider really heavily, is your users and what they have experience in using. Sage 100 Contractor is a really simple, easy to use construction system. It's got, nice icons and specific workflows that you can create to make things very simple for your users. That's not available with 300 CRE, but 300 CRE will give you a lot more robust reporting. But again, it's only as good as it is being utilized by your users. So the data migration is also something that you'll want to think about. So how detailed are your jobs currently being managed in your old system? All of that information is going to need to move over into your new system in a particular area, and because it's a new system, it doesn't matter if it's a Sage system or if it's outside of that. We need to be able to look at that data that you're going to be migrating over, especially if it's historical data. If it's a large volume of data, we want to make sure that it's going to be useful in your new system. So that's going to be a large part of our conversation. Implementation periods will depend on how complex this project is going to be. So with 100, it's generally somewhere between 30 to 60 days. With 300 CRE, it can go up to 120 days. Soonest I think we've done it is 2 months, 60 days. And during that time period, we're talking a lot about these options and helping you plan. So we can help you full on and do everything for you, or we can simply advise you and you can utilize your resources on your team if they've got experience in the system. That's also a huge plus in finding success. Okay, so implementation, we kind of really dived into that last point there. Again, somewhere between 30 to 90 days, sometimes 120 days, usually on the 300 CRE side of things. What we like to do is help you put together a customized package based on your needs and everything that we talked about prior in your evaluation period. We'll give you all of your options, and we'll set you up with the package that you need to start off with. We'll look to the future as well and talk about some of the things that you may want to add on later as well, so that you have those in your mind as you're moving forward, because we want you to keep pressing forward and being as streamlined as possible, even if that can't happen from day one. So we work with you throughout the life of your Sage account. Data migration is a huge piece of it. We just talked a little bit about that. As long as we can get your data out of your old system, that's usually not an issue moving forward. We just need to talk to you about cleaning up that data, making sure all of it is active and relevant to your business today, because we don't want to migrate over information that is useless. That's going to be a waste of time. Installation and training is a big piece of it. We can install for you, or we can work with your IT company if they have experience installing. We provide you with a lot of information and onboarding guides that we've created particular to TAG. We have many product guides and administration guides through Sage available that we share with you as well. Training, again, is a big piece of it that usually happens a few weeks before your go live date. We like to wait until that data is all set up and that you have a database to kind of work with, especially because going live is, it's a big deal. So we like to wait until right beforehand so that all of that training is fresh in your mind when you go live, and it can start to get ingrained into your day-to-day. Okay, so another aspect of the discussion is some of the outside resources that you may want to utilize, or maybe you are currently utilizing. So there are different integrations available between the two products. Again, they're two different systems. Information moves into the system into two different places. There's different terminology. So it's going to be different. We'll need, sometimes it's the same. Procore now has integration with both 100 and 300 CRE. It used to be 300 only, and so when Procore users came to us, we kind of pointed them in that direction. Now it's available for both. There are many document management programs. Sage has their own paperless program as well. Third-party timekeeping, it's definitely super important that that job costing happens immediately as it's being captured and flows into accounting for all of your reports, again, in real time. So for that reporting to make sense and offer you full visibility, we want to have that integration so that it's not sitting in your timekeeping solution until payroll, and you have to have an import. What we want is full visibility, so things to be happening real time. As soon as that time entry happens, it's captured for your job cost reports. And that can happen with many different third-party timekeeping solutions. Sage has its own time card entry solution as well. So we really talk to you about, if you're currently using something, let's stay with that. If you want to move towards something, let's make sure it integrates. And same thing with project management as well. Sage has project management solutions, but again, whatever works with your team out in the field, that is the most important. That's where we'll recognize that, and we'll work with you to make sure that integration, that connection is happening for you, and that all the information is flowing correctly. So there is also a few for bid management and for some options for home builders as well. So if those things are important to you, let's definitely talk about them. So this is just, it's a little bit grainy, but this is just a view or a peek at what Sage 100 Contractor looks like and what the desktop looks like. Again, a big part of whether you're successful with the system or not is your users. And one user might look at this and think it looks clunky. One user might think, oh, it looks beautiful. I love these icons. They help me on a day-to-day basis to do my tasks and do them efficiently. This is a workflow that you can design and customize per user so that they'll see just those items or reports that they utilize. Same thing with the dashboard. I don't have a screenshot of it, but it is also customized per user based on their permissions. So this is something that generally we find people like, but again, it varies from user to user. This is a screenshot of 300 CRE, so it looks very different. Has a lot of the same functionality, but users may feel overwhelmed by looking at this, or maybe they might look at this and think, oh, this is awesome, it's got everything for me. There are dashboards and things that are created and pre-built per role, so maybe you'll have a controller type role or a project management type role that you'll want to see. They do have those pre-built that you can take a look at for you, already ready to go in the system. So it, again, just comes down to the user and what they prefer. So that's a peek at 300 CRE as it compares to 100 Contractor. We talked about the evaluation of it, the implementation, and then also making it connect to all the other systems that you may want to be utilizing. I understand the importance of that, and I want to help support you. So if you guys have questions about how that works, or if you want to dive deeper into any one of these topics, please feel free to get in touch with me. At this time, I'll open it up to questions, so feel free to type your questions in the chat box. If you want to ask a question, maybe it's a more complex question, I do have the capability to unmute your microphone so that we can start a little bit of a dialogue. But I'll just pause here. I hope it was a very effective, informative webinar, and that I covered the types of things that you were looking for. But if not, feel free to email me or type in your question now, and then we can talk a little bit more about it. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in. I will send out a recording of this presentation if you're interested in retaining the PowerPoint slides as well. I'm happy to share that. I have some literature comparing 100 to 300 as well. And of course, if you would like to see any of the reports that are available, happy to share those. Feel free to email me or give me a call. Let me see here. I have one question from Boone. Busy timekeeping. Yes, as I did see and speak to someone at one of the trade shows, it's been a while, I think about a year, but from what I had heard at that time, Busy does integrate. They would be the one that created that integration and kept up with it. So as the versions get updated, they need to make sure that that integration keeps up. So just reach out to your Busy account manager. Usually they'll be able to tell you very easily if it integrates. Maybe it might integrate with an older version. If that's still supported, you're welcome to function and utilize it that way. Just hope that with the newer versions that come out, they'll continue to keep up with that integration. And Jacinda, thank you so much for your comment about the presentation. Integration with Autodesk BIM 360. I think so. There was some talk about that. Let me look into that, and Jacinda, I will email you what I can find. I'll just need to double check with my team on that one, but I will definitely follow up with you. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining. Again, this is going to be available as a recording, so you could share it with anyone on your team if you'd like the slides or any other questions answered. Just feel free to email me or give me a call. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great week.